Okay, so in this lesson, we're going to start off with solving an equation using a binomial square. Okay, this is part one of completing the square. Remember that binomials here are two terms. Okay, so we have x plus 3 squared, which makes it a binomial. So I'm going to first, in order to solve this, take the square root of both sides. Okay, so when I do that, I get the square root of x plus 3 squared equals the square root of 25. Okay, so the square root of x plus 3 squared, we're undoing the square, so it just becomes x plus 3. And then whenever we take the square root of a number, we know that it's either plus or minus 5, because negative 5 times negative 5 becomes positive 25, and the same with the other. Okay, so now we want to solve for x. I can subtract 3 from each side. And now I actually have two equations here. I have x, which is left over on the left side. And on the right side, I have 3 plus or minus 5. Okay, so I'm actually going to have two answers. One of them is 3 plus 5, which is 8. And the other one is 3 minus 5, which is going to be negative, oops, sorry guys. This is negative 3, because I'm minusing 3. Negative 3 plus or minus 5. So negative 3 plus 5 is going to be 2. And negative 3 minus 5 is going to be negative 8. Okay? So this here should be negative. Okay? So the last step is I wrote both problems. So your two answers here is x is 2 and x is negative 8. All right, let's try the next one. Okay, so in a situation here where the number on the right-hand side is not a perfect square, okay? So we're going to go ahead and do the same thing and start off by squaring both sides. Take the square root of both. So square root of x plus 3 squared equals the square root of 20. So square root of x plus 3 is just x plus 3. And then I need to simplify the square root of 20 because it's not a whole number. So I can simplify it to the square root of 4 times the square root of 5. Okay? So I did it this way because I can take the square root of 4. So you want to see if you can take out a perfect square. And in this case, I can. So the square root of 4 is plus or minus 2. And then I still have a square root of 5, which I can no longer simplify. Okay, so now here I'm going to solve for x next. So I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides. Now on the left I have x, and on the right I have negative 3 plus or minus 2 times the square root of 5. Okay, so this represents two answers again. Okay, we're not going to be able to fully solve it. We can leave our answer as a radical, but the two that we have are x is equal to negative 3 plus 2 square root of 5, okay, and also x is equal to negative 3 minus 2 square root of 5, okay. So we solved for x, and now we can leave our answer in radical form. Okay, so what I'd like you to do right now is try part A, and then I'm going to check it on the video. The rest of these we will go over in class, and you will try these on your own in class. Okay, so pause the video for a moment and try part A. Okay, so for part 8, what you should have done was take the square root of both sides first. And then we realize that we have x plus 4 on the left. And then over here we want to try and see if we can simplify the square root of 50 into two things that multiply to 50, okay? So I do know that 25 times 2 would be equal to 50, and the square root of 25 will actually give me a number. So the square root of 25 is 5. So that's really plus or minus 5, and then I still have my square root of 2. Okay, next up is to subtract 4 from each side, and I'll have left over x is equal to negative 4 plus or minus 5 times the square root of 2. Okay, I'm going to use the space over to the right to write both of them. So this actually is two answers. X equals negative 4 plus this 5 times the square root of 2. And also x is equal to negative 4 minus 5 times the square root of 2. Okay, so those are your two responses. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the next. Okay, so at the top of the page we have example 3, where we want to recognize unsolvable quadratics. Okay, so here are just some of them that we're going to start off with. You can never have the square root of a negative number. Okay, so there are no numbers that when you square them together it equals negative 9. Okay, so for example, if I did, just to show you, 3 times 3, it would equal 9. Okay, this is 3 squared. If I did negative 3 times negative 3, this is 9. Okay, which is really negative 3 squared. So you can never get a square of a negative number. So let's go ahead and fill that part in. There are no numbers that square to negative 9. Okay, and then over here on the second one, it says, why can't there be a solution here? Okay, so again, this is the same idea, except we have some number plus 6 squared is equal to negative 25. Okay, anytime you square a number, it becomes positive, because a negative times a negative is positive. Okay, so here, same idea, there are no numbers that square to negative 25. Okay, and that is it for part 1. We will continue working on part 2 in the next lesson.